Hey, happy Mindful Monday, everyone. Hey, so I've been reading this book here, Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl, very famous, well-known book about a Holocaust survivor. And, I'll be honest, it's been kind of a slow read, but until late and until recently. And last night, I actually just couldn't put it down. So I picked something up that hits um, right along the lines of something somebody commented actually on one of my posts. So recently somebody commented on a post about responsibility, taking responsibility for everything that happens in your life, and they said that free will is a myth or an illusion, something like that. And this directly answers and kind of strikes down that concept, at least in my opinion. For me, it does. So I'm going to just read directly from this. You guys can interpret it yourself. But to me, this is great, a great passage, a great part of the book, and gives me hope. So bear with me. I'm going to just jump right in here. And Victor, at this point, he was a doctor at the concentration camps. He was taking care of a bunch of patients with typhus, and so he was very irritable. The patients were very irritable, had a lot of apathy just because of the situation, the conditions they were in, and on top of all that, they were extremely sick. So lots of things going on. Okay. All right. So he says apathy was particularly increased among the feverish patients, so that they did not react at all unless they were shouted at. Even this failed at times, and then it took tremendous self control not to strike them. For one's own irritability took on enormous proportions in the face of the other's apathy, and especially in the face of the danger, i.e., the approaching inspection, which was caused by it. In attempting this psychological presentation and a psychopathological explanation of the typical characteristics of a concentration camp inmate, I may give the impression that the human being is completely and unavoidably influenced by his surroundings. In this case, the surroundings being the unique structure of camp life, which force the prisoner to conform his conduct to a certain set pattern. But what about human liberty? Is there no spiritual freedom in regard to behavior and reaction to any given surroundings? Is that theory true, which would have us believe that man is no more than the product of many conditional and environmental factors, be they of a biological, psychological, or sociological nature? Is man but an accidental product of these? Most important, do the prisoner's reactions to the singular world of the concentration camp prove that man cannot escape the influences of his surroundings? Does man have no choice of action in the face of such circumstances? We can answer these questions from experience as well as on principle. The experiences of camp life show that man does have a choice of action. There were enough examples, often of a heroic nature, which proved that apathy could be overcome, irritability suppressed. Man can preserve a vestige of spiritual freedom, of independence of mind, even in such terrible conditions of psychic and physical stress. We who lived in concentration camps can remember the men who walked through the huts, comforting others, giving away their last piece of bread. They may have been few in number, but they offer sufficient proof that everything can be taken from a man but one thing, the last of the human freedoms, to choose one's attitude in any given situation, in any given set of circumstances, to choose one's own way. Boom. So, again, this is crazy, right? Like, these people are all in a concentration camp, hardly getting fed, getting treated like dirt, getting worked like dogs to the bone, getting, they're getting taken away from their families. They don't know where their families are at. They don't know if they're going to live or die. They don't know how long they're going to be in the camp. The conditions are just miserable, just insanity, right? The amount of shit that they had to go through. Um, and yet there's still people with a good attitude. There's still people in the face of all of this showing kindness, acts of service. um, to me, this is very freeing, because there's a lot of times where who have never gone through anything like this, um, you know has felt apathy and irritability and anger and frustration, and I haven't been great at controlling, my attitude in those situations. But this tells me that that's no excuse. I can overcome that, and you can too. Like, this gives me hope. And I hope this gives you hope too, that we can control those feelings, that attitude. We can always put a smile on our face. We can always have a good attitude in the face of anything. And although, he's not saying it's easy, it's something that's absolutely possible. And we're not just walking around like robots and zombies. We do have free will, and to make the choices that best serve our lives and the lives of the people around us. So, with that, again, I hope that gives you hope. I'd love to hear your feedback in the comments. Let me know what you think, if you agree with me and with what he's saying here. But hard to refute that. Hard to refute that. So, all right, guys, have a great